Hello viewers, welcome to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. Today we have a video lecture on the topic right sizing, outsourcing and consultancies, which is unit 5 for BA Public Administration students of semester 5, course 5, falling in block 3 entitled Incentive Management. Friends, I may just give you a little background to what is human resource management to connect it to the topic that we are going to discuss. Human resource management is one of the branches of public administration. Earlier it was known as personnel management or personnel administration. The title human resource management is catchy and it is more commonly used in private sector, although these days even in public sector government organization this concept is being used. Right sizing, outsourcing and consultancies has come up sometime in 1990s as a sequel to India opting for globalization, which it has stonewalled all along. It has stopped all along under very compulsive circumstances, and the circumstances were there was a serious balance of payment of crisis for the government. The government did not have enough of hard currencies or currencies like dollars, Deutschmarks or the pound sterling or Japanese and international currency, which was necessary to buy goods and services and technology from outside India. And the government was in a very precarious position, very dangerous position, and it did not have enough of foreign reserves to cope with the demand for foreign exchange, and therefore, under these circumstances it was P.V. Narasimha Rao, who was then Prime Minister, guided by Dr. Manmohan Singh, later Prime Minister, but that time Finance Minister of India. They adopted a new policy known as the new economic policy. Some people call it as the new economic and industrial policy. So, as a sequel to this, there was lot of structural adjustment within the economy and also in sectors that are connected to economy, and equally so in public administration. Another important impulse, another important reason for the practices of right sourcing, outsourcing and consultancies has been the growing globalization. Globalization is turning the whole world into one common market by liberalizing exports and imports. It is for short known as EXIM liberalization, and there was need for being very competitive. There was need for competitiveness in the private sector enterprises as well as for the government also. The concepts of private sector like efficiency, economy, of course, public administration's beginning was that, but in public administration efficiency and economy are moderated or also conditioned by social justice and reaching out to the weaker sections of society. But in private sector these are concepts, these are the practices that are highly prized, and such practices had to come into public administration also. And the theory that conceptualized this kind of implementation of private sector practices into public administration is going by the name new public management theory. The new public management theory has emphasized on privatization and on joint sector and on liberalizing the economy and also the public administration. So, it was in this context that the right sizing, outsourcing and consultancies topic has to be viewed. In this lecture, we will examine the scope, importance, the meaning and the issues in all these three practices. You may say that right sizing, outsourcing, consultancies are both concepts and practices. Concept is the theoretical side, practices are the practical side. So, we have to understand both. When you understand concept, you will get to know what is it, why it is and all that. Otherwise, you cannot understand the practice straight. The government suggested, in fact, as a part of the new economic policy 1991, which was a policy for industrialization of India by taking the route of privatization and denationalization. And this happened also because of the fact that China, which is a country which could be compared to India in terms of the complexity of the problems, size of the population, the hugeness of the country, and India had taken the Chinese experience also. China has gone for globalization, privatization practices, inviting foreign capital and all that, and they have prospered, they have achieved stupendous growth. And one little point of illustration would be that when China got independent, the revolution in 1948, we got our independence in 1947. 48 was the time when both the big Asian giants, huge countries in Asia, got their freedom. And China's economy was much more backward than Indian economy. And when China adopted these private sector practices, globalization practices, India did not move in. And India was under two compulsions. One compulsion was Swadeshi, going by Gandhian ideals. With due respect to Gandhi, times were changing. And this was a touch point. Swadeshi was a prized thing, and we did not want to go for foreign capital or foreign collaborations and all that, unless it was compulsive. Another thing was socialism. India, under Nehruvian model of development, has adopted democratic socialism. Democratic socialism is neither capitalism nor a socialism. It is a midway house between the two. It suggested that India should go for a socialistic pattern of society, but socialism not through revolution or through compulsive means, but through democratic process. So, therefore, this word democracy is prefaced to socialism, and that was the model. So, democratic socialism believed that there should be public sector, a huge public sector, nationalization, progressive taxation. As a result of all this, you slowly build socialism in this country by taxing the rich more, leaving the poor off without taxation, taking money from the rich and slowly transferring them to the economy or to the social sectors. Now, this was the philosophy. Because of that, we hesitated, but under compulsive circumstances government had to go for this. Now, coming to right sourcing, outsourcing and consultancies, one more thing is that the pay commission, I guess it was 5th pay commission, which had recommended that we have to go for a reduction in the workforce of the government, in the personnel or the human resources of the government, because the government saw that, and that problem has become more and more acute even now as the time passed. Today, the outgo of the government budget on salaries and pensions is such a huge thing. Sometimes you feel that there is no money for developmental activity. That is the context in which these concepts have come. Now, we go to the concept of right sizing. Right sizing is the process of adjusting the size of the organization or a department or a unit or maybe a university or a school or any other government establishment. And the need for this was to increase economy, and there was from 90s onwards what has happened in India, because of reservations, because of spread of education among either two neglected sections like scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and OBCs, rural sectors, they started getting education and started demanding their own share in the public kitty. So, because of that, government had to spend more and more money on social sectors, and this was the context in which right sizing was thought of. So, as I said, right sizing is the process of adjusting the size and composition of the organization. Size means, let us say, in Government of India, under the central government, there is a workforce of 50 lakhs. So, you have to either increase that or decrease that, both of them depending on the need. If there is need for increasing the size, you have to do it. If there is need for decreasing the size, you have to do it. So, if you have to increase the size, right sizing has two aspects. One is upsizing, the other is downsizing. Upsizing means increasing size, downsizing means decreasing the size. But as it happened, just to connect it to our economic trajectory of our economic development and all that, there was more need for downsizing rather than upsizing. And one more aspect of right sizing is changing the composition also. Say for example, if you have under the government of Telangana, if you have 5 lakh employees, so there is a question of increasing the size wherever there is need, some new, always there is need for establishing new departments, there is need for increasing the size somewhere, that is also there, decreasing the size, and composition also. Now, in Government of India, almost I think they have done away with class 4 employees. Now, there is under the changing circumstances, people started believing in their self respect and all that. Therefore, menial jobs, earlier they were known as menial jobs, illiterate people and all that, there is heavy influx of technology, and once technology has come, there is a gradual elimination of this. So, therefore, composition means now you have 5 categories of people, increasing one category, decreasing another category, or adding one more specialization in the group of employees. So, these are two aspects of this. Size variation is right sizing, composition variation is also right sizing. And as a result of this, there was the Government of India has started what is known as a structural adjustment program. What is structural adjustment? The government wanted to reduce the size of the organizations by reducing the government employees or freezing employment increase, and it has abolished certain loss making units, and those people cannot be thrown out suddenly. So, therefore, some schemes were introduced. One of them was voluntary retirement. This was applied across different departments in industries as well as non-industrial employment also. So, those days employees total entitlements till the retirement were calculated, somewhat matching that they were given advance payment and they were sent home. And the thinking of the government was you have people, there is a lot of overhead expenditure and the salary presently calculated will be not, and it may appear to be a very big amount, but when the next revision comes, the salary is going to be much more higher. So, some people took that, and this is what was known as golden handshake. You see, the name, it is a metaphor for giving huge money and sending employees happily home. So, all such things happened, and this was what was the right sizing. And after this, the government has also started some training programs for reskilling the laid off employees or the removed employees or voluntarily retired employees. So, that the problem is that some of them, their skills were redundant. Say for example, typists, type machines disappeared, data entry people have come. So, the existing typewriters, there is even stenos. So, some of these people, they lost their jobs, and like this, these are just two examples, many jobs were lost, and therefore, people were given reskilling, new skills were gained. And so, the point is that because of obsolescence of skills, obsolescence means time boredness of skills, this has happened. Friends, this was the concept of right sizing. The government under this has heavily slashed the employment, and of course, it has created a problem. One major problem is that the problem of reservations. The people hailing from scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, OBCs, and who stood for reservations. And reservations were there since independence, but they could not benefit much because by that time they were not educated. By 90s, education spread was there. There were enough people. Just at that time, there was downsizing and all that. It created a little social turmoil. These weaker sections started apprehending that the government is going away from people and they are going towards the wealthy and all that. Of course, we should understand the compulsions of the government and also the requirements, and therefore, one problem with right sizing rather downsizing was that the composition of the civil service, the composition of the employees got almost frozen, because new jobs are not coming. When new jobs come, reservations will apply. So, the number of jobs coming up has decreased, and therefore, the social inequity or the dominance of certain castes in the civil service has continued for longer time than it would have continued. Okay, this is so much as right sizing. After right sizing, there are problems like employees thrown out and they were taken care of by this, such things have happened. The next important concept for our lecture today is outsourcing. Outsourcing is a big thing that is happening everywhere. Outsourcing is not only there in public administration, outsourcing is there in private administration. So, outsourcing is nothing but getting the work of the government department or government organization from outside sources. Outside sources could mean private organizations or government organizations also. Now, there are different organizations. Instead of earlier, there used to be all the full complement of employees. There was a carpenter, there was an electrician, there was a plumber, there was security, there was this, that, all kinds of employees were there. Whether the work of such employees was needed full time or part time, fully or not, all people were there. It was thought that their time, their energies could not be consumed, and it was becoming costly. Say for example, instead of 5 people sweeping or providing security at different points of time. There used to be number of employees with their payment benefits and all that. So, all such calculations, I think as I told you, new public management theory advocated cost effective solutions. Public administration also should look at cost dimension, which earlier they were not doing. So, therefore, the government organizations and even private organizations, it has happened more in private sector, they started seeing an advantage that whether can we hire people from outside. Typically, in even in the universities, you have security is almost wholly private. Some private companies given that, and the government, the universities feel that the bill has come down substantially and efficiency has gone up. And so, security is one, another is housekeeping services, and so many other things are being outsourced by various organizations. Outsourcing is taking specific services from outside organizations temporarily. Originally it is temporarily, but what happened, almost every outsourcing service in public sector has become permanent. Initially it was thought that there is flexibility, as long as you need you will have them, once you do not need you can throw them away. But it is going beyond that and people are continuing. And outsourcing means hiring third party, this is the word we are using. You are taking third parties for doing the service. And sometimes outsourcing is also becoming necessary because of the reason suddenly the government requires some employees. Now, there is a whole process of public service commission, you have to give a notification, and once the notification is given, there are people who vested interests are always there. They see some loophole in the advertisement, they go to court, it is stalled. Okay, exam is conducted, after exam is conducted, there is some gadbad here or there, and some people invent some trouble and they go to court or to some other organization. So, this way what is happening is immediately when you need people you are not able to get. So, this is one more reason why outsourcing has become necessary. Outsourcing is seen as a cost effective way of it is controlling costs on one hand. So, say for example, if you take a security guard from outside, it is almost the cost of hiring a security guard is half of appointing a full time security guard under the government. So, that is the cost is the. So, and it is also believed that an outsourcing organization is out and out specialized organization, some security agency. So, they know what is security, they get some training, they get a license and they are exclusively doing that, and therefore, they are the people who know the job well, they know the job better than somebody full time worker from government. So, efficiency considerations were also there, and so this was the reason why, and it was another thing, it was argued that the organizations can focus on core things. Every organization will have some important things. Say for example, university is meant for teaching. So, you concentrate on teaching rather than all such mundane things. So, outsourcing has facilitated organizations or maybe a medical department. The main job is to diagnosis of the disease, treatment of the patients, etcetera, etcetera. But there are so many other things that have to be done. So, non-related, I think public administration line and staff we talk about, the line job is the main job of the organization. You confine yourself to the line job and the staff work you take from outside, and this is the context in which it was done. And yeah, it was also believed that by having outsourcing you can have innovative solutions to old problems. So, innovation was also another reason why outsourcing was encouraged. But there are some problems of outsourcing also, as in everything there is a nothing is a unmixed blessing. everything is a mixed blessing. One, initially there was a lot of resistance from government departments, because they thought that our control is lot, and in public administration there is a phenomenon known as empire building. The empire building is every boss wants to have a big paraphernalia around him, lot of attendants running, somebody opening the door, somebody taking up the file, somebody lifting the water bottle. That adds to the aura of the officer. This kind of thing was there, and these are all people coming from outside, and therefore they were not very favorable. And the problem they felt is that our control will be lost. Some outsider is coming, the outside fellows will be loyal to the bosses or the company which is supplying than to you, but this problem was more exaggerated, but in reality such problems did not become stumbling blocks. It is also said that there can be poor quality also. After all, when you hire people, if you are outsourcing from another government organization or a private organization, the loyalty of the fellow coming is, you are just here 10 days, 15 days, and later you are going. So, that kind of problem, loyalty problem will be there, and in some cases poor quality is also witnessed, because when commercial organizations step in, they always look at cost cutting from their side also. No, you are outsourcing to reduce some cost for the government or to the organization, but even the supplying organization, the third party which is providing some outsourced support, he is also trying to maximize his profit. I have seen in security guards some people, some old people who cannot properly see, who cannot properly hear, even such people are dumped into organizations. If there is a proper check from the employing organizations or outsourcing organizations, there may be good quality, but otherwise sometimes the private people are there, they try to influence also, and such, some complaints are there regarding the reduced quality of services also. Outsourcing can be of many types. There can be functional outsourcing, process outsourcing, project outsourcing, and offshoring, cloud outsourcing. These are various types of outsourcing. Functional outsourcing is you are outsourcing a function, security function, you are outsourcing transport function, you are outsourcing some other XYZ function. So, yeah. So, this is one. I think consultancies, let us go to consultancies. Consultancies are nothing but specialists from outside. It may be government consultancies or private consultancies that will temporarily come to an organization, study your problem and give solutions. And this was the initial consultancy was initiated by F.W. Taylor, the famous author of scientific management, the thinker of scientific management, who started, he was the first industrial consultant, and consultancy is taking, I think most of the government organizations are using the services of consultants for DPRs, detailed project reports. When you want to go for a big project and all that, your expertise is not enough to do that. So, consultancy is also another practice, and these three things together, just to wrap up the discussion we have had in the course of this lecture. We discussed about what is the meaning of right sourcing, outsourcing and consultancies, why these things have become important, what is the theoretical background in which these three practices have come up in India, because of globalization, because of the new economic policy and economic challenges. So, these things have happened, and as a result of this, the government has gained flexibility. There was a possibility of reducing future cost of the organization, but it has also created certain problems. But of course, the problems that have been faced by organizations are not as many as they were imagined in the beginning. Welcome. With this, I would like to conclude. Thank you Thank you, viewers.